What's up, Sooner fans? Welcome back to the Surge Game Time, previewing OU SMU. But before we get started, we got a lot of news coming your way. Very important news for you, our viewers. Okay. First, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. We know a lot of you are. And if you are subscribed, we're asking right now that you have a link down in the bottom where you can join up, be a member, and get on the Discord with Sooner Surge. Okay, this is an opportunity for you to have 24/7 communication with us, as well as other viewers and members of the Sooner Surge community. We have different sports broken down with softball, football, baseball, basketball, and so forth. We'll have chats, we'll have voice calls, talks during games. It's an opportunity for you guys, our viewers, and us to be able to connect and share in our community that you guys have so lovingly, and we appreciate all you guys that have been part of this. I can name you by name, just how many of you guys have commented, interacted with us. We just want to increase that a little bit. We want to step it up a notch, and we want you guys to be a part of it. So before we get started in this video, make sure you down in the link in the comments, you'll see how to join the Discord with Sooner Surge. Click that, join up. Okay, it's $4.99 a month. Fill that out. Join up, be part of what's going on, because we promise you we will be on there and active during games, after games, before games, and not just football. All sports OU, everything OU. We are here. And guys, we're not lying, because if you've been a part of what's going on here, you know that's truth. We provide constant content about Sooner sports. So make sure you're a part. Okay, it's not very hard. Click the link, join up, be part of the Discord. Okay, we're excited for you guys to be part of it. Can't thank you guys enough for what you've done as far as helping this channel grow. You guys have been amazing, and we want to ramp it up a notch and continue to provide the content. Okay, there'll be some rules on there as you join up, but man, do that first. We appreciate you guys. Guys, it's game week. It's OU SMU. It is a kind of a Southwest Conference battle, you could say. Big things coming. Ryan Leaf will be on tomorrow to kind of break down the game, but we are going to break down the game first with what's going to happen Saturday night, 5 o'clock. Stadium should be hopping. It'll be interesting to see if the tailgaters are out this week. I think they will be, though. Let's get started, guys, with this game.
Yeah, this is an SMU team that comes in with an extremely experienced and talented team. Offensively, they're headlined by quarterback Preston Stone. Versus Louisiana Tech, he had a very great performance. He's actually SMU's highest rated commit and signee ever in the history of their program. So he obviously is kind of the face of what SMU is going to be. He's a guy that has a very great arm and he can move. He's mobile. And we've seen that, right? Oklahoma, they've struggled with these quarterbacks that can run over the last few years, right? They've allowed teams to kill them with their legs, especially on the ground through the quarterback run game. So it'll be interesting to see how SMU can utilize that. And obviously, SMU has maybe one of the best running backs in all of the country in LJ Johnson, transfer from Texas A&M. He's a stud. They also have Jalen Knighton, who is a transfer from Miami. Wide receiver, they're led by Jordan Hudson, who transferred from TCU, I believe, to SMU. He was a former Hunter Brody. Was he a 5-star recruit, if not a very high 4-star?
Yeah, he was a very high-ranked recruit. And you want to talk about a 5-star recruit in that running back room? You mentioned LJ Johnson and all them.
Wheaton.
Also, Kamar Wheaton. Every single Oklahoma fan knows Kamar Wheaton's name. And he was suspended week 1, I believe. But he will be back this week. Also, if you happen to watch the SMU versus Louisiana Tech, highlights or whatever, you probably saw former Oklahoma defensive lineman Corey Roberson. He had like a fumble or a pick six.
It was an 18-yard pick six.
Yeah, he had a pick six. So, I don't know. This will be a pretty interesting test. I think for the defense especially. I mean, we talked on here, one of the biggest talking points following last week's game against Arkansas State was the pass rush. I mean, I was talking to Hunter throughout the game. Pass rush, we talked about that. They're not getting many sacks. They got 1 sack. And, Jordan Kelly had a good tackle for loss. But the pass rush, I mean, Arkansas State was going fast. This SMU team, they're going to drop back more, and it's going to be a better test for them, as well as Oklahoma's secondary with Woody Washington and Gentry Williams. Jackson mentioned these SMU wide receivers. They have really good skill players. I mean, this is not a bad team. In my opinion, this team is a better test than what Oklahoma faced in Nebraska last year.
And it's a team that, if you watch the highlights from the first week, they made big plays, especially their receivers and their tight end, who is the son of Russell Maryland, used to play for Dallas Cowboys. But their tight end and receivers made plays that were kind of like just go get them plays, and they made them. So let's just face facts as OU fans. Defensive backs at OU making plays on the ball in the last 5 or 10 years has been a problem. Am I wrong?
No,
you're not wrong on that. But again, it was only week 1, but it changed. It's a lot easier to make plays. Brody mentioned how fast Arkansas State was getting rid of the football when it's only 1.5, 1.7 seconds from snap to throw. It's a lot easier to make plays. And we saw that last week. Woody Washington made a few plays. Gentry Williams, just the entire secondary last week. When before years past, it was like sometimes up north of 13 to 15 seconds from snap to throw. So it's hard to keep up as a defensive back when you're really just running around like a chicken with your head cut off out there trying to defend the wide receivers that are running their routes, as quarterback has all the time in the world. The pass rush, I know Brody talked about how me and him were talking throughout the game on the pass rush. The pass rush was there. It just wasn't statistically there.
No.
Again, it's hard to make a sack in 1.5 seconds. I don't think even Lawrence Taylor can do that. So
it's that in my opinion is going to change this week. They're going to have to get pressure on Stone. Have to. I would take the over on 3 sacks this week. I think Venables and staff and Ted Roof, they're going to mix it up. They're going to bring a lot more pressure than they showed last week. They know that this game is not something they're going to cakewalk in. They know this is actually one of probably the toughest games on the schedule, and it's early. So they have to be on their game. I expect many guys to get in, especially on the defensive line again and on the edge. It'll be interesting if Deshaun McCall is able to go. That will be a big thing, I think, to have him, if possible, with the pass rush off the edge. But I think BV brings a lot more pressure. He's not going to leave those guys on an island, I don't think.
Well, Jeremy makes a good point right there. I think SMU by far is Oklahoma's toughest test until they go down to Dallas in the Cotton Bowl. I feel pretty strongly on that. Again, like last week, the passer, they didn't have R. Mason Thomas playing. And I'm pretty high on R. Mason Thomas. I think he'll be really good. But, I mean, Trace Ford, when you watch it the second time, he had some really good pass rushes. Rondell Bothroyd is very solid. I think more so this week, you're going to see it getting results statistically shown. I agree with the 3 sack thing. I think they'll get over 3 sacks.
Hey, I think also this SMU, I mean, just think about the conference they're in. It's not just a slouch. I mean, last year, Tulane, if anybody remembers the Cotton Bowl, they beat USC. They won that conference last year. You got UTSA is another good team in that conference, and then SMU. And guys, if OU takes care of business this week and they beat SMU and beat them pretty handily, to me, the way the schedule sets up is great because you had that first game, which is just a smoking. Then you have a test here, okay? But you're not having like 2 or 3 cupcakes just dead smack right in a row and then have to play somebody tough. So I like that this is a test for OU. Because I do think with this, and then you got TU next week, are two teams that are really going to test your defense, especially. And we all know we can say what we want about the offense last year and Dylan Gabriel, whatever. They scored enough points to win basically every game if they had defense. So it's on the defense, I think, this year to make that huge leap. And I think we'll know that after 3 weeks. I think we'll know a lot after this week specifically.
And this is an SMU offensive line that has 3 new starters this year. So I do think it's maybe if OU's defensive line does struggle against SMU, I'm not saying it's time to press the panic button, but maybe there can be a little bit of cause of concern, maybe just due to there being a lack of a pass rush. Because Oklahoma, right, the one jump that they were expected to take, especially by a large amount, was the pass rush, right? They added guys like Trace Ford and Rondell Bothroyd out of the transfer portal to help with that, and they moved Jonah Lalu to the inside to help with the interior pass rush.
You'll see a big difference this week.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
And then I also think that Brody had a great point, and Oklahoma's adding back R. Mason Thomas this week. He's a guy that I think can be this year a game changer when it comes to the pass rushing ability. And I think I would not be shocked if we see a lot of him and Trace Ford on the field together, especially getting after on second and third.
Yeah.
And then I also just think that I also look to see how Stutzman and Kanik are in pass coverage as well, right? Because last year, Oklahoma at linebacker maybe wasn't the best in pass coverage. Stutzman was okay, but obviously Kanik, he's a new starter. And so I do expect SMU to test OU a lot over across the middle of the field and test the eyes of the safeties and linebackers.
They're going to test Oklahoma's run defense too. You mentioned LJ Johnson. He's a really good running back. Kamar Wheaton. They've got guys there. They have talent there. And last week, Arkansas State rushed for 48 yards. That's exactly how you should handle Arkansas State, but it's going to be more of a test this week, seeing what Oklahoma can do against SMU's more potent run game, as well as their passing game that should be, I'd hope, is a ton better than Arkansas State.
Brody, you didn't even mention their actual starting running back, transfer out of Miami. He's the actual starter.
Hey, and I know,
really good.
And I know Hunter's gonna probably agree with me here when I transition to the offense here. But Jackson, you did mention three guys, and I want to point something out really quickly. Of the three you mentioned, when you mentioned Trace Ford, Wandale Boswell, and Long, all three of those guys are so experienced. Was a huge advantage, I think. And throw Harrington in there. He's been around forever. The OU is very mature and wise as far as leadership. I think that's a deal on that defensive side. But you said something earlier. We got to bring it up, and that they scored enough, right? They scored enough last year in many games to win the games. But OU fans would be the first to tell you DG had to be better. He had to be more consistent. Has to make the throws he's got to make. And there are some games where the third down conversions, the defense is off the field a whole lot more if we just convert on some of those. As a fan, I'm really looking forward to see if our third down conversion can continue to be like it was last week against this tougher opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter, I know you want to talk about that too a little bit.
Yeah, personally, I hope we don't get to third down often. And if we do, I hope it's third and short, not third and long, like we saw a lot last season. I do think it is going to be a little different than last season. Dylan Gabriel's got to stay confident. We saw a confident Dylan Gabriel, and we saw his best performance in the Sooner uniform last week. 19 for 22. I think it was 308 yards.
Yep.
3 total touchdowns, I believe, maybe 4.
Yes, 3.
Anyhow, I've talked about it a lot. I know I caught some slack into the summer when we kind of talked about just matchups on the schedule. Well, I said SMU in the secondary. We had Rich Phillips on. If you haven't watched that already, go check it out. Voice of the Mustangs, their play-by-play radio announcer, to kind of preview the matchup from SMU's perspective. And he talked a lot about the secondary. I talked with Brian Massey, the senior. I believe he's a captain. If he's not, he's for sure one of the leaders in the locker room over the summer. And I was like, how do you handle, I mean, you're going into a hostile environment, 85,000 fans that are very loud, one of the toughest places to play. And he's like, it doesn't matter. We're going to play our football. That's not going to be an issue. Again, don't think that'll necessarily happen. I think that's once a team like SMU gets into that environment, it's going to be a little of an adjustment into it. But they're going to test Dylan Gabriel. I think that's the biggest matchup, really, if you want to go like a single position group against another position group, is Dylan Gabriel against the secondary of SMU. But if he stays confident, he's going to play a lot better. Everything about his play last week when he was very confident was improved. His football, his mechanics, his decision-making, just everything like that. He is going to have to take some risks this week in the deep ball. But again, approach it like you did last week. Be confident that
even the Florida State.
Best. Yeah, be confident that you're the best player on the field, that your guy's going to win that jump ball matchup, just stuff like that. And I think if that happens, it's going to be a big win for the Sooners.
The thing is, if you look back to week 1, and a lot of people said, well, it's Arkansas State. Okay, but what you have to realize, and if you go back and watch last year, even in the games OU lost, the passes that Gabriel missed were easy throws. They were throws like on 3rd and 4, you got Stoops wide open and he just shorts it or overthrows it. They weren't like difficult throws. So even you can take something from Arkansas State, being that those screen passes, they were all on the money.
Mm-hmm.
He was very confident, like you said. That's what you can take from it.
So
go ahead.
Of Dylan Gabriel's, correct me if I'm wrong, of the 3 incompletions, one of them was a drop from Farouk.
He
It was
threw
put
one out
on
of
the
bounds in
money.
the end zone.
And, okay. And the other one was, I believe, a drop by Petaway. I think it went through the hands.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And he had the 2 that resulted in PIs.
Yeah, which those
that
aren't
would have
on the
probably
stat
been
sheet.
touchdowns.
His
Yeah.
flashy error, the one he threw, I don't remember what quarter it was, but to Andrell, he put a lot of air under it. It was like a flashy play almost. But that was the one pass, I think, looking back on it, that you're like, okay, that was not a good pass. In my opinion, that's all I saw.
Yeah, everything else was pretty much on the money.
Yep.
Where you want them, catchable balls, and really 2 of them were dropped. He can't throw it and go catch it at the same time. Stuff happens.
Yeah, and this is an SMU team that I think we will be walking out of Saturday night thinking that this is a pretty darn good team, guys. I mean, they're going to be a team that's going to compete for the American Conference. They may compete for that New Year's 6 spot for that group of 5 team.
Well,
and I mean,
they don't play Tulane or UTSA, which is huge.
No. Yeah, and Jason, I think you had a great point in their tight end. His name is RJ Maryland, and he's a guy that's one of the best tight ends in all of the country, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
just great, super athletic, and I think if Oklahoma has trouble guarding him, it could be a long day for the secondary. Now, I expect Oklahoma probably to match up a lot of Justin Harrington on him. But, I would say that's mainly the matchup I'm going to watch for on the defensive side of the ball, is how Oklahoma matches up against RJ Maryland and Jordan Hudson. I would say those are the 2 guys, because obviously Jordan Hudson, he has all the talent in the world. We've seen it. We've seen so much flashes, whether it's from Woody Washington. We saw some last week from Gentry Williams. So it'll just be a thing to watch to see how Oklahoma handles those 2 guys, in which could be debatably 2 of the top 10 skill players they face all season long on one offense.
Hey, I would love your comments in here, but as you're watching this, guys, put in a comment. But to me, there's 2 things that are very important about this week, and I think are real huge keys to the game. One of them is, I think OU has to start fast like they do in those games. If they start quick, I think they'll be on their way for a nice victory. Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing is, I want to see what happens when OU allows their first touchdown of the year. How do they respond? Okay, when they allow a touchdown, is it gonna creep back in their mind about the old defensive way? Are they gonna start doing things themselves? I don't think it will.
Sure.
But I think it's very important to watch for on Saturday. When that happens, how do they respond?
Again, I think that will a big deal there is the leadership. They have leaders this year that they have not had in the past.
A whole lot of leaders.
Danny
Stutzman's
one of them, and Stutzman's not even a veteran guy, but it seems like he is. But they're loaded with leaders. You talked about some of the transfers. Bothroyd and Ford have been through a lot, so I think that they would react differently. And another area, guys, that you're going to say something about the defense, Jay. I saw your finger up there. Yeah, real quick, I want to say something, and I'll go right back to you. Last week, go back to the play Reggie Pearson made. Out of bounds, late hit. Next play, he's the guy that makes the tackle for loss. I think that says it all right there.
Pearson's another guy that's a huge veteran leader. He's been around a lot. Hey, but one thing, if you want to talk about anything that was underrated, because everyone talked about the win against Arkansas State, but one area that really probably didn't get enough compliments was special teams. They had one punt, plastered it. Okay, it was a great punt. They were perfect on everything else, and then you had their punt return, which against it when you're talking about opponents punting the ball, return game, all that. Sometimes in these blowouts, you don't see a lot of that. I thought special teams was great, And I think that could be a very big thing this week.
This week.
Go ahead.
This week, I think there's going to be at least a few big plays on the defensive special teams, kind of that group. Me personally, I think OU has at least forces two turnovers this week. I think we're going to see the pass rush be what it was talked about to be all offseason. It's not going to be the quick passes as it was from Arkansas State, which it might be. I mean, if SMU wants to do that, like, that's smart. That's watching film and realizing that, yeah, sometimes when you throw it in 1.7 seconds or whatever that timestamp that was all over Twitter, you can kind of beat those zones a little bit in the defense, make OU have to adjust on that. But I think when it's you get to the 3-second mark, the 5-second mark, we saw Rondell Bothroyd a lot last week. Again, Arkansas State, but Bothroyd, there's a reason why he's one of the highest graded PFF pass rushers in all of college football. Yes. He's played a lot of college ball at Wake Forest. Now he's at OU with a really big opportunity to be a playmaker here. I just think the whole defensive line is going to get pressure on Stone. He's only started. This is going to be his third start.
Yeah, you got to pressure him.
And really, a second full game, I guess. The first start, I believe he got injured very early on into that game. So he hasn't played a lot of college football. It's a road game. OU has to make it that the Palace has to be rocking this weekend. It should be. There's 5 o'clock, kind of the night game, but a little bit not of a night game as it starts a little earlier. Just get that road environment on. SMU, a lot of things comes down to the quarterback play. He hasn't played a lot of college football. He's very new to it in a real road matchup that is one of the toughest in the country. You got to make him feel that environment. And in that, he's young. He's going to make mistakes. I just think the pass rush gets to him enough that we see someone like Woody Washington make a play, Gentry Williams, Billy Bowman. I could see Reggie Pearson laying down the boom in the middle of the field, and the ball might fall out in that way. So Pearson's one of the hardest hitters in the country, and I am glad he is a Sooner because we saw last year when he laid down the boom to our guys and Dylan Gabriel, and that was not a fun thing to see as an OU fan.
Hey, guys, last week in the Arkansas State game, might have went unnoticed. Didn't go. I mean, to me, they put Arnold in. I think it was his second drive, and they just QB powered it about 3-4 times. Almost looked like I was watching the Philadelphia Eagles out there. But that's a package that I guarantee you we see in the Red River rivalry. Do we think that they pull Jackson Arnold out tomorrow night and give him a little run game package or something like that?
Why not?
I think it depends. I think it depends on how the game's going. I mean, if Dylan's playing good, I think they'll probably just ride it and get a lead. But, I mean, I think that package is available for whenever they want to use it, and I think it's a good package for sure. I mean, do y'all think Drake Stoops plays tomorrow?
Yes.
I do.
I think he's playing.
I don't know.
I think he's going to play, but
I don't know.
I could see it going either way.
Just put Freeman in that spot.
Yeah.
I would think that if it was up to Drake Stoops, he'd play for sure.
Yeah, it probably.
They may not give him that choice. They may not.
If it's up to the player, he's playing.
Yeah. Hey guys, speaking of players, let's go ahead and move to a Sooner standout. Who the Sooner standout? We got 3 kind of sections here, guys. We're going to do the Sooner standout. We're going to each pick one key to the game, and then we're going to have one hot take here before we get into our 3 college picks for the games. So let's start with Sooner standout. Jackson, why don't you start? Who's the standout going to be Saturday night for the Sooners?
My Sooner standout is a guy who last week made his first career start in his Sooner uniform, and that's Justin Harrington. I just think with Deshaun McCullough being questionable for this week's game, I would not be surprised if we see him not play just due to him holding out, not wanting to further risk any injury. And I think Justin Harrington will have himself the game that shows why all the talk was about him over the offseason.
Yeah, I'll go next. I'm going with Andrell Anthony. I was really impressed based off. I mean, based off what he did last week. He did his job. He was the field stretcher. That's what everyone wanted him to be. He came in, he did that. 3 receptions, 66 yards. Didn't have any touchdowns. I think he gets his first touchdown in his student uniform this week. Yeah, I think Andrew Anthony is going to be a very big weapon for Oklahoma's offense this week and this season.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier by name. I'm going Reggie Pearson. A night game in the Palace, first time for Reggie Pearson as a Sooner, getting to wear the crimson and cream under the lights, Palace on the Prairie, Norman, Oklahoma. I think he's going to lay down at a few big hits that are just like get the crowd rocking on that. And I think he forces a turnover, either forcing a fumble or pick something off and pass coverage this week. So I'm going Reggie Pearson.
I'm gonna go Gavin Sawchuk. I think he's gonna play this week, and I think you're gonna see a kind of a few big highlights from him.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with a guy returning to the Palace on the Prairie for the second straight week, hoping to get some balls thrown his way. I think Austin Stogner, guys, is a guy that's going to see a lot of balls thrown his way.
I hope so.
I think he's going to be a huge roll down the middle of the field this week. All right, guys, keys to the game. One key to the game, and I'll start with this. Brody alluded to this earlier. I think a huge key to this game is you've got to stop the run first and foremost. Stopping the run first and foremost so that you can plug that up so that you're not on your heels throughout the game. Stopping the run is my key to the game.
Yeah, I'll go next. My key to the game is being able to make more explosive plays than SMU. I think this is going to be a game where we see quite a few explosive plays from two very pass-heavy offenses. I would say in a way just due to their aggression down the field. So I think if OU can really have a lot of successful explosive plays, we will see them be able to have that energy in the stadium, that crowd being able to affect how the defense plays. And I think Oklahoma could potentially run away with this game in the second half.
I'm going to say, just like I said earlier, to me, the number one key to the game is the start that OU has. I just think you cannot start slow and get down or anything. I just think you start fast again, score on your first couple drives, be rolling. Because let's face it, you do that, Preston Stone is then playing from behind. He's having to think a little bit more. You can pin your ears back a little bit probably. So that's kind of my key, is just starting off fast.
Yeah, Jay, you took my key right there. I'll go with something a little bit different. Control the tempo on the defensive side of the ball. Like you mentioned,
plays last week.
Like you mentioned, Preston Stone, make him have to beat you. Like, again, and maybe I regret saying that we're talking post game, but again, you got to make him have to try to make plays to beat you. Got to get pressure to him, and then defensive backs got to make the plays while the ball's in the air. I think if you do that, and it's going to be a big win for the Sooners at home.
Yeah, I'll side with Jeremy. I'll go with stopping the run. I think if Oklahoma can do that, the defense will have a lot of success. But yeah, before we go and get into our picks for this week, if you haven't already, make sure you go down to the comments. If you're interested, join the Sooner Surge Unlimited. All 5 of us are very excited about that, just to have the opportunity to talk to everyone. I mean, I don't know if anyone on here has ever heard Jason and Jeremy in the middle of a game, but they like to talk in the middle of games. I'll just say that it's something we'd be excited to be able to talk with everyone else. That just something we're looking forward to, getting this Discord server up and running, and we would appreciate each and every one of your guys' support. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into our picks. I think we can go ahead and start with where are we starting? Nebraska, Colorado?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, I'm picking Colorado guys, but
you don't want to do it, do you?
I think there's a little bit of a I guess you could say down week maybe this week. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. This is an old rivalry. Matt Rule will have Nebraska ready. I promise you he's going to be ready. I'm going to pick Colorado close. A lot lower scoring than maybe many people think at 23-20.
I'm saying Nebraska double digits.
Wow.
Nebraska by 10 or more.
This is classic your picks.
No, listen. Here's my reasoning, guys. I don't think TCU's that good personally. And also, I've seen it many a time from other teams that do this. They come in first game, and nobody has any film on Colorado.
Wow.
Nobody.
You're not wrong on that.
I
I'm
think
not
you're
wrong on that. And you know who's really good at film and really good at coaching is Matt Rule. And guys, they went on the road and they really should have beat Minnesota, who's a good team. I think Nebraska's gonna win.
I think that's a terrible pick. Honestly, I think Colorado goes in there and destroys them by about 30 points. Listen, you want to talk about coaching? Colorado has maybe the best offensive coordinator in the country. I'm sorry. Sean Lewis, that dude can call
He
plays.
is really good.
Right?
He
have
was
a
the head coach at Kent State last year, correct?
And
Yeah.
guess what? Correct. And guess what? Colorado has the top 2 guys in the Heisman race, and who I believe will win the Heisman and Travis Hunter. This is a loaded team. Dylan Edwards, their wide receivers. They got the Horn kid, Xavier Weaver. They're loaded.
Their defense isn't very good.
Their defense?
It's not
Doesn't
very
have
good.
to be when you put up 500
Miles
yards.
had a really good week last week. And guess what? Travis Hunter's also on that defense.
OU, man, just with the offense to defense comparison.
I didn't hear what you said.
Nebraska is going to get destroyed by about 40 points in this one. Colorado's going to they're going to destroy them. It won't even be a close game. It'll be one of those games that you turn on and then at 12 o'clock you're ready to kick it over to the next game because it's such a blowout, honestly.
See, this is a game in which I became a fan of Colorado and what maybe their hype and after their win after week 1. But, Jay, I'm going to agree with what you're saying. I think Matt Rule, we're going to see him out-coach Deion Sanders, okay? We are going to see them out-scheme Colorado. And this is a game I do think in which Nebraska will maybe be able to dominate Colorado in the trenches because Colorado's run defense is awful, okay? And Nebraska, their QB, Jeff Sims, is great on the ground. So I expect really Nebraska to have full control of this game, and I expect them to win by a touchdown.
Yeah, I'll go next. Colorado's favored by 3 points. This is a very close Vegas's eyes on who's going to prevail in this game. But what I saw from Colorado, I can see why Deion Sanders hypes up the things he does. I mean, again, I agree with Jerem on that TCU isn't a great team. I don't think they should have been ranked. They lost way too much from last year. That poll ranking was purely off of last season's success. But, I mean, his son put up 510 yards passing last week on the road. Now you're at home in Boulder in front of first time in a long time that Colorado is going to have should have a very big-time fan showing at the game. The hype is the highest it's been in a long time. Don't think it will be a blowout like Brody said, but I will take Colorado in a high-scoring game by 14.
We can't hear you, Jeremy.
You're right. The hype is real, and sometimes the hype can come back to bite you. We got Texas, Alabama next. We know the hype is kind of building around Texas this year. It seems to do this every year, mid-September. And, you know, as much as I would like to see the Big 12 and Texas be very relevant in the playoff picture and be there at the end with OU, maybe the last season in the Big 12 and the Big 12 title game, I think this may be too big a hill to climb for Texas this week, and I'll tell you why. I'm not sold on Quinn Ewers. I am not sold that he is the real deal yet, and I think Alabama's defense is going to get after him early and often, and I'm not sold on Alabama's offense either, but I think Alabama wins by double digits, 10 or more.
Yeah, Jerem, couldn't have said it better myself. Sure, I can take some backlash on this. I said preseason Texas is going to go on the road, beat Alabama, kind of be on top of the world and fall off. See that performance that Texas had last week against Rice, a team if Texas is truly back, they should kick the brakes off of. I think the saying is all gas, no brakes. That did not happen at all. They did not look good. Quinn Ewers did not look improved at all. Now you're going to Tuscaloosa at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Eastern, I believe. A night game at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Give me Bama by 20.
I totally disagree with you, Hunter. You know, I kind of earlier this year when you were picking
Of
Texas,
course.
I was going to go Alabama, but
Jay,
I looked at
is the
first,
strategy just to throw it on the wall and hope
I
it
looked at the
sticks?
first week
Are we getting
differently.
an SMU pick next?
Listen, let me talk.
Well, last year he picked South
Let me
Carolina over
talk,
Georgia.
guys. I look at the first week differently. I think they were totally overlooking Rice. You talk about a trap game, right? Okay, their whole season, Texas, as far as wanting to go where they want to go, they've been looking at this game after last year where they had him on the ropes and they didn't beat him. Sark going back to Alabama where he coached. I'm telling you, Texas wins Saturday night.
I think it'll be really close. I think Bama by 7. I'd like to see Texas win. Everyone wants to talk about the skill position, the Mitchell kid, the Worthy, all Texas guys. Quinn Ewers, I agree with Jeremy. Not sold on him at all. The reason that Alabama is going to win this game is going to be because Texas's offensive line is simply not that good.
You know, this is a game in which I think, as an Oklahoma fan, there's a lot of really conflict there because obviously I want Texas to be good when Oklahoma plays them, but also I don't like Texas, right? I mean, none of us do. But I think this is the second time I'm gonna have to agree with Jay on this. I think Texas is going to upset Alabama. I think if Quinn Ewers would have never got hurt last year, Texas would have won that game. And I think Steve Sarkisian and Quinn Ewers. Do you know how many of Nick Saban's former assistants have won against him? Because I know it's a very low number.
Yeah,
I believe it's like 2 or 3.
Yeah, and I think
many.
Sarkisian is going to go in there. He's going to lead this Texas team to a win in which we see the Texas hype get built up really high, and then they'll have to face Oklahoma. And I expect
now
a different outcome.
And now to the one we're all ready for, the Oklahoma SMU matchup, 5 o'clock. Palace on the Prairie is going to be pumping and rocking. Tailgater's going to be out and about, I have a feeling, all day. And I think that you're going to be shocked that maybe this take. We didn't get our hot takes, but I'm giving one right now. Sooners are going to win this game going away 42-10. Barely SMU getting in the double digits. OU's going to score 5 on offense, and they're going to run a pick 6 back for 42 points, 42-10. Sooners are going to look like the real deal, guys. My Little Ponies.
My Little Ponies is crazy.
Yeah, I'll follow it up. Kind of a similar thing as Jerm. I've talked about on how this game could go wrong for OU. That SMU is one of the tougher opponents on the schedule. But again, it's a night game at the Palace on the Prairie. You should win this game, and you should win it by a lot. I think this team is different. I think the defense is really – I think this is going to be their kind of coming out party against in a very good matchup against a good SMU offense. Like I said earlier, I think they're going to force a few turnovers this week. I'm going to go OU 45, SMU 14.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and say it 42-14. That's my pick.
Jay?
You want me to go or are you going?
I don't care. I guess
I'll go.
What's the next bold take going to be?
What's that?
He's going to say 70-0.
Yeah, is it SMU winning by 100, Jay, or what?
No, guys, this is going to be – I kind of agree with you a little bit as far as your, similar scores, but to me, there's no way OU doesn't score in the 50s tomorrow night. I think OU – I'm going to go with OU I'm going to go with OU 59.
Just say 60.
And I'm going to go SMU 13.
Just say 60.
Oh, see.
59-13. You know why? Why do I do this every time OU plays? I go these big numbers as the OU fan.
Not just OU.
Viewers, drop your comments in there. I want to hear your comments on the score. But I do this every time when I think it's going to be a tough game, and I go to pick a score, and here I am picking 59-13. Jackson, what you got?
Well, this is an SMU offense that I do think will end up being a top 10 offense nationally by the end of the year. That's how high I am.
Whoa.
But I think Oklahoma's defense is going to show why they are back, why Brent Venables has turned this defense around. And I think they are going to hold SMU to 7 points. You ought to hear 1 touchdown for SMU.
Whoa.
I think the score is going to be 45-7.
You just said they're going to be a top 10 offense.
Yep.
That's
Guys.
demonstrating how great OU's defense is going to be.
We're either going to be all
right.
really wrong or all really right.
I mean,
That's
they have
usually
an
the way it
easy
goes, guys.
schedule.
Hey, you guys can be right by clicking the link at the bottom, joining up for Sooner Surge Unlimited, being part of the Discord server. We would really appreciate it, guys. We love the following that we have here, that you guys have helped kind of nurture and grow. You've been a part of it. You know that we're going to continue to provide the content on the daily. Okay, so make sure you're part of it. Click that link. Join up before Saturday so we can get talking on the OU SMU game. Till next time, Boomer.
Boomer.